Well, good morning, everybody. We are back for episode 17 of Going with the Chappells.
All right.
I know we've been laxing weeks at a time, but we're gonna get on a schedule. I swear.
We have to quit making.
I know we gotta quit, doing that. We're just gonna get into it. So
we haven't been keeping them.
Today's episode is a special episode. We have our second visitor, right? Because Isabel would have been our first.
Yeah.
This is our second guest speaker, but this one is
one other guest.
I don't remember. Well, either way.
Okay.
And this one is a special remote guest calling in from the eastern seaboard of the United States.
Yes, my little brother Weston Faulkenberry. Say hello.
Hello, everybody. I am if y'all can't really remember which guest I am the first official visitor, and here we are.
There we go. That's good.
If it's now, it has to be on the transcript that Weston Faulkenberry is the first visitor in the car.
There you go.
Well, Isabel did ride in the car.
She was actually in the vehicle.
Yeah, we were going to the big house, and she was in the car.
And she is an avid watcher of these shows, so she will call you out.
She'll start cooking.
So I'm the first person to enter the car by satellite.
Yes, you are our first remote visitor for sure. Yes.
Well, thank y'all again for having me on. It's quite an honor and privilege to be on this.
Well,
I'm excited.
We were actually, we like having you on because you were kind of an internet inspiration for us a little bit, at least for me. I got to watch a lot of your silly videos you made back in the day when you were overseas and all the fun things that you did when you're, over serving our wonderful country. And
most recently, I have so enjoyed the handstand challenge.
Yeah, that has been a fun experiment in general. And that came about just because Haley, our oldest daughter, she came up to me. We were watching TV, right before bed, and she came up to me, got right in my face. She, out of nowhere, she's like, "You need to learn how to do a handstand before we move." And I was like, "Okay, all right."
I love it. Well, and
I'm trying to watch Gordon Ramsay.
Exactly. No, I love it because she is like your challenger and your biggest cheerleader at the same time. Can we all just take a note and a lesson? And then also the just way to show up, not overcomplicate parenting, and be a really good girl dad. So fun.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the other thing too. I'm getting ready to push 40. And so she just turned 7, and so that's one of the things with growing up, being 40 was kind of like, oh well, you start your downhill decline. But now I'm in the mindset of you know what, I'm gonna do this. We're after 40,
40 is the new 30.
Yeah,
40 is the new 30. And if you look at our dad, I think he's a great example of in middle age, working hard, maybe not getting to exercise as much as he would like, but I think when he hit late 50s or so was when he started doing all the half marathons and the triathlons.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a great example.
It really is. I think a lot of people, miss out on understanding of how much life you can live later in life, and due to my situation in the Army, and, I think I've been really privileged to have so much travel, if that makes sense, because I have, I've been in 2 wars. I've deployed overseas multiple times. I've seen other wars being fought. And so I know that things are really rough, and so that life is pretty fragile.
Right.
And so if you really want to, you can and you should choose to take care of what you have, because it could just stop all of a sudden.
I do think it's hard, it's true. It takes a lot of work in your own personal battles and war to get to a place where you can see loss as a privilege, but it's exactly what you said. Whereas for a lot of people, the brevity of life is on the back burner. But for people who have experienced loss, it's in the front, it's in the foreground. And so it does cause you to wake up and live each day and, to appreciate, I call it the earth suit, to appreciate the earth suit you're in,
Yeah, and I think it's very easy for people to get into it's not really a rut, but just like a constant state of normalcy, right? Where you just get complacent and everything, you just want everything to be easy and smooth and easy and smooth and easy and smooth. And when you create that environment, it can just get real lethargic, right? You can allow yourself to get lethargic and get overweight and get addictions and do things that you just, you shouldn't avoid. You should try to avoid, obviously, and not make part of your life. But it is something that it's like kind of sadly the American way, right, of consumptionism, right?
Well, and the forward motion of everything. Everything is always moving forward. So if you are not growing and moving forward, you're probably going the other direction, and that's the opposite of life and progression and health and everything.
Yeah.
So okay, so
as we evolved as human beings, I mean, we obviously seek comfort. That's the whole purpose, and that's how you survive, is to seek comfort. But in order to do that, the early stages of our evolution is we had to fight for that comfort. Yeah. And that's the thing that we modern day people forget, is that, because we love comfort. Comfort's not a bad thing. That's what you should fight and do, is to have comfort. But in order to have comfort, you need to know what, struggling is. You need to know where you are and where you could be. And so comfort's not a bad thing. It's just once you just stay in that one form of comfort, then you don't evolve. You don't move forward. You don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, there's nothing wrong with looking at us in the past, because as people say, you should use the past as a guidepost, not a hitching post. And it's true. You need to just remind yourself of where you've come. And when you are struggling, always remember that, okay, this path, I can do this as long as I just stop and think about what is going on, what are the problems around me, and then how do I get out of it, and how do I get back to comfort.
Yeah.
And so then that's kind of where, being in the midst of struggle, it's really hard to get out of struggle. And sometimes we like to deny ourselves and say that while we are in the struggle, that we're actually in comfort.
Yeah.
Because it's just too easy to be like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think that brings us greatly into, so tell us what you're working on now.
Yeah. So I run a health and wellness company, Find, Fix, Finish Health and Wellness. It's based off the principles that I learned as a special operator in the Army. It stands for our targeting practices, how we engage and eliminate enemies, find, fix, and finish them. And there's a few other steps in the military that don't really involve, health and wellness. But right now, my goal is to basically start the company that allows people to understand what their issues are and then how they can basically solve their issues with the help of me coaching them to do it. And so I'm a certified nutritionist, I'm a personal trainer, I'm a combat veteran. I know all aspects of life, and so my goal right now is to help people. The ones that I find the most are I'm helping them with nutrition. Nutrition is the biggest thing that I find people lack, or nutrition knowledge. I'm not going to say nutrition. Nutrition knowledge is the biggest thing that people lack, and the biggest thing that they have a problem with. And so my current goal is just helping these people find out, okay, how do you eat properly?
Yeah.
And so we see in today's American society, and in some of the more richer countries, I don't think a lot of people know this, but China has an obesity problem as well.
I did not know that.
And so China is the number one obese country in the world.
Wow.
Because in the places where they make the most amount of money, it's the worst.
Yeah.
And so as we see in American society, we have this obesity problem, and the problem is, it's not just a current thing. Like, this is a trend that started decades ago. A lot of scientists, refer to the obesity problem when the food pyramid was introduced back in the 1980s.
Yeah.
However, there was a lot more going on with that. It wasn't just about the food pyramid that was introduced.
It was a business plan.
Well, it was everything that was going on, right?
Right.
We were in the height of, let's make more money, let's do things. It was basically a grind culture,
Right.
That everyone's going to do something. Women were in the workforce now, they had been in the workforce for 10 years. Young men were trying to make money on Wall Street, and so they didn't have time. Everyone said that they didn't have time. And so other companies saw this, and they opted for, hey, how do we help you out? And so we make it convenient. And that's when you start seeing the introduction of more TV dinners. That's when those really started coming out.
Yeah, and fast food and McDonald's and Popeye's chicken and all the drive-thrus
and so that was the start of our comfort hunt. Like that, we wanted it all to be more comfortable, and so instead of working for it, we found convenience ways. And I always say that you pay for convenience, and not just financially, but in other ways.
Well, and also that was a time when you were starting to see more and more dual working families. And so, that's kind of when the latchkey kid thing came about, and so the resources of the parents were all starting to go working outside the house. And so when you come home, you're tired, you don't feel like cooking, and now you've got these convenience meals that are calling to you because they're convenient. And they're being marketed all over the place.
high in carbs, high in calories, high in terrible starches. And
and everything's processed. And they want to make more money on it, so they find the cheapest way to do it as well, too.
Right.
So they need to make a profit as well. So it's this cyclical cycle of supply and demand that we ultimately created ourselves.
Right.
And so now to see the repercussions of it 30, 40 years later, and that's usually when the cycle kind of happens. You have two generations of things that normally before things start to turn. And so we're now starting to enter into a period where more people are becoming open to ideas that, the processed things aren't the best. There are better ways of doing things. And, there's not a problem with hunting and gathering. That's where people start to see all this stuff. And so there are other societal trends, and I don't know if this new statistic came out, but teenagers are starting to have sex as much, or to start experimenting with sex earlier on. And so what that has given us to is that they have learned from the past generations that it's not always cracked up to be, or that there's something that they want to wait for, or other things. But it's basically this new generation is seeing the mistakes that we made, and they're trying to alleviate them. And so now is the time for us, this generation, this current generation, that we should be able to lay the groundwork for them, so that way they can take the ball and run. So that way when we're old and it's their turn to run things, that they can take care of us as well too.
Yeah.
So again, it kind of all comes, back to it, and just learning, and the good thing that is that people love to cook nowadays.
Yep.
People are learning how to cook, and that is something. If you go on social media, type in food, and that's all you have to do. Just type in food, and your algorithm is set. Your algorithm is set for like the next week.
Right.
And you're just going to see recipes and people cooking and everything like that, and it's a good thing. The problem that we kind of have as individuals is, well, what's right? Now we're so over inundated with information. How do we know what's right? How do we know what's wrong? What is going to work for us?
Right.
And so that's where it kind of separates everything. Now we have so much information. How do you find out what works for you? And that's another thing that my company does, is that we figure out, all right, what's going to work for you? Not do this. We know what's right for you. All right, how do we figure out what you like?
Well, and that's the crazy thing I've kind of seen too. I've got friends and people that I've associates or whatever that get onto these, like, every diet is the best thing possible you can do, and then there's so much information about why everything else sucks, right? And it's and you can get into this bubble, right? Where you're only seeing what you want to see, and it can be so blinding that this new fad is what everyone needs to be doing, and everyone's doing it. They're all losing weight. They're all blah blah blah.
Well, and everybody has a study, paleo, vegan, and so really what you're saying you can do is help people kind of cut out the noise, shorten the learning curve, and get on an eating plan. Do you use macros, or how do you approach that?
So it depends on person to person.
Okay.
I don't have a one I don't have a cookie cutter system. I'm not going to say, hey, do all this.
Right.
How I go about it is I interview you first. I find out what you're doing, and then we work for a week together. You just keep doing what you're doing, and then you tell me what you're doing for that week. And then I come back and I'm like, all right, well, let's figure out what you like. But why did you eat just one particular brand of fast food at this time of day? Was it because it was convenient? Was it close to your house? Was it because you just love hamburgers? Because there's nothing wrong with things like that. We just need to go through the psychology of it. And so I do macros. I do different kind of diets. I do keto. I do paleo. I do carnivore. I do vegan. I do all those because it's based on the individual. The individual is the one who drives it. And I'm not going to recommend a diet plan to somebody that just hates the food, because they're not going to do it.
They won't commit. Yeah.
That's a good point.
Well, and eating really is it's a holistic experience, right? We eat because we're physically hungry. We eat for emotional reasons. We eat for social reasons. It can be spiritual for some people. There's a lot of reasons why we put the food that we put into our bodies.
There is, and that's the whole definition of wellness, is trying to prevent your body from having illnesses. And so feeding yourself is a wonderful way of, increasing your wellness. There are other ways of increasing your wellness too, but, in this context, eating what you eat is your medicine.
Yes.
That's the most thing.
Yeah.
But, what tend to forget about cooking can be amazing. It can just be fun, because every time, if you think back, take a time in your history when you were at a party, where was everybody at?
Yeah,
it's always the kitchen.
Yeah,
it's the kitchen. It's that. If you have a sporting event party, where are all the men going to go?
Right.
Barbecue,
right.
Because it's fun, and what it is it's tribal. Cooking is very, very tribal, and it's also community. And if you're starting to look at it like that, like, hey, I want to do this for a community, then your community is going to join in. So Beth, my wife, she and I normally cook dinner together because it's fun. The kids will be getting off that, whatever they want, but some days I'm the sous chef, some days I'm the head chef, and back and forth. And it's just, we talk about it, and it becomes so much more fun than we know it. And then it also becomes a therapy session at the same time, because not only are we in so much control of something, when normally our anxieties and our worries are filled because we don't have control of something.
Right.
That's where all this stems from. But when you're cooking, when you're doing something with food, you have so much control, and you can just pour all your heart into it. And then you get to talk to somebody as well through it. Then you get to vent. You don't even understand that you're actually connecting with somebody while you're having control over something. And if you do it properly and well and have fun with it, then you get to feed yourself with that, and then you have a victory. So then you have all these mental capacities that you're now, alleviating pain and struggle from, just like cooking dinner.
I love that, Weston. I mean, you could go so deep just on that alone. And I know, like for Jay, it is his creative outlet. He loves to cook, and I love to feed people. So you've got the whole connection aspect, right? Not only did you just have your own therapy and your own creative outlet and your own sense of control and autonomy, but now you're also connecting and sharing and. I love that. It makes you realize how valuable dinner is, or a meal is. I mean, it's profound.
Yeah, it is. And then not only that, it's a way of creating. You can turn it into a creative outlet. And the biggest example is a chili cook-off.
Yeah.
It's one food. There's one food in the entire thing, but it is done so different.
Yeah.
True.
Right? If you just look at it on paper, you are going to 20 booths to try the same food. That is ridiculous and sounds so boring.
Yeah.
But when you throw in all this stuff, these people have put in different ingredients, different spices, and now you have 20 booths of completely different and completely different tastes. And so now you're allowed to create. So now you can express who you are and what you want and things like that. And by the way, chili is my favorite food to me. I think it is the healthiest thing that you can prepare.
I love chili.
Yeah.
I love it.
It is. And you can tailor it to yourself. And that's the best part of it. You can tailor it to you, you can tailor it to your family, you can tailor it to an event. And I'm a very big chili advocate.
Yeah.
I've come up with vegan chili because I love chili so much.
Nice.
Like it's so fun to work with a food like that.
Yeah, I love that. And it really is a comfort food at the same time.
Yeah. Especially on a nice, wet, cold day where all you want to do is just be warm. And you can mix it with so many things. And it is a very universal thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, throw it on a hot dog, throw it on a taco. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, cornbread, put in your saltine crackers. I mean, there's, Fritos.
So I'm the chili advocate. That's really what's happening right now. That's what my company is.
Yeah. It's really green, isn't it? Hey, but you know what? But big picture, I think what you're also saying is that lots of times because of the diet culture and that kind of thing, we think of, if I want to get in shape, there's all this stuff I can't have. And the reality is, how can I have what I love and get the result that I want, right? There might be little sacrifices you make along the way, but it's not depriving yourself of what you enjoy, because that's not the whole picture.
If you start to deprive yourself, then you're going to start to envy yourself or hate yourself for the past. And so you're going to ultimately relapse into the habit that you were doing. If you like Oreos, I'm going to find a way for you to have Oreos.
Right.
I love Oreos. I love Pop-Tarts, especially when I'm in really a heavy lifting cycle and I'm trying to put on as much muscle mass as possible. I love chocolate milk and Pop-Tarts.
Nice.
And that does wonders for me.
And that nurtures the inner child.
Yeah. Reminds you of sitting at the kitchen table watching cartoons on Saturday morning,
It is. Me and Olivia, the 3-year-old, will be sitting there we're on a chocolate milk kick right now. So it's there's 40 years that separates us, but we're still bonding over chocolate milk.
Right. And I'm okay. I'll make cacao milk and stuff like that. And to me, I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. I love the herbs. There's a little more bitterness and sweetness, and so whatever works for you.
Yeah, and just to go back, there's no reason to deprive yourself, because at the start of this conversation, I said that we seek comfort because it can be gone, and that you don't want to take away the progress that we've all made in food and luxuries and everything like that. I don't want to deprive you of that, because I'll put it in this example. The healthiest thing for all of us to do is to walk to work.
Yeah.
But that is completely unreasonable. That is just not going to happen for most of us. And so we don't want to take away our ability to drive or eat or, do other things. And so we need to have that. We just need to substitute that, or we need to supplement our movement in a different way. So you can't deprive yourself, you just have to add to it.
And then on that same vein, I think a lot of times people, with the food, they want to deprive themselves, but with the movement, they either think that's too much work, or they make it this huge thing right out of the gate, and they're super sore the next day, or they don't keep it up because it's a huge commitment. Yeah, my husband is raising his hand. I'm like, why do you have to always overdo something? But sometimes it's just begin. Just do one push-up. Just take do one lap,
Yeah.
you know, and then celebrate yourself for showing up, for doing it,
Yeah.
and build that consistency and that commitment with yourself, and then it will grow into a habit. Or take the chance, invest in yourself, work with someone like you who can help you see your own blind spots, keep you committed. And you know, I just think a lot of times we don't have to overcomplicate it. And for me, walking was how that started. Like, I just made a commitment. I was going to walk a couple days after work, and I didn't say how far or how long. I just had to do it 3 days after work, change the clothes, put on the shoes, and go. And that turned into a strength and a commitment I didn't know I had, which turned into riding my bike and swimming in the summers, which felt like I was a kid, because I was riding my bike to the pool and swimming laps during Adult Swim, which was so much fun that when the pool closed, I was like, okay, I've got to keep working out. So I chose to join a gym, which is something I had never really talked myself into doing before. And then I started lifting weights, which I loved. And now I'm not doing any of that because of the move and our commute. It's been really hard to work exercise in. But I went back to the same principles. What do I love? And I love yoga. And so I've just committed 3 times a week. I'm doing yoga. I'm doing it in a bedroom from a free video on YouTube or whatever, but I'm showing up for myself right now in that way to try to build the momentum and the discipline of moving my body, feeling good, having that emotional and physical growth.
Yeah, and that's all you think. You brought up a good point of saying that you do it 3 days a week, which that is a really good day. Like, you don't have to start out doing it 3 days a week. If you do it 1 day a week,
right,
then that's better than nothing.
Yeah, it's better than no day.
That's all you have to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we all agree that going from 0 to 100 is better. But going from 0 to 1 is also better.
Yes.
Well, and
it's not 100.
Yeah.
It's not 100, but it's 1. It's better than doing nothing.
And you have to go past 1 to get to 100.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know?
You have to start. And a lot of the things when it comes to me and what I enjoy doing and how I get things going is I don't just do it. I research it. I read into it. I find the pros. I find the cons. And I do that for weeks at a time. And to the point where I don't feel like I'm learning it, but I feel like, I've just been reading about it too much, so let me go for it.
Yes.
And then I just take one step. And that's always how it is for me. Every time I try like a new sport, or I try a new movement, or I try a new exercise, a new program, I always research it. I always look it up to the point where it just aggravates the hell out of me that I'm not doing it.
I'm the same kind of learner. I want to be an expert in my head, and then all that buildup is what actually motivates me to move it into it and do it. But I want a sense of understanding or some sort of certainty before I begin.
Yeah. I just want to drive myself insane that I'm reading it and not doing it. And so I'm like, it's time to go.
My life.
Oh, that's awesome.
No, that's great.
And also, too, another shameless pitch about myself is that I do, like I said, I'm a personal trainer. And I have a lot of specialties that, I specialize in bodybuilding. I also specialize in tactical athletics, which is training military and first responders. But I also just do basics. Like you don't get to those levels until you understand how do you get a body in motion.
Yep. Hence the handstand challenge.
Yeah, for me, and honestly, and the handstand challenge, I've been wanting to learn how to do handstands for years. And then, of course, it took a 7-year-old getting in my face.
That's right.
To really push me. But then after that, then it became a love. Then it was like, all right, well, what muscles are involved in a handstand?
Right.
What do I use? And so then that led me to learn about the rhomboids and the teres major and teres minor, and those are all muscles in the back. And so then, I go down that rabbit hole, and then I find out, so the majority of Americans have poor posture, mostly because we are front of our computer and devices all day. And so instead of working on chest muscles, which everybody wants, if you work on your back muscles, then your chest is ultimately going to work better.
Right.
So this is like a guy thing, right? So then that's what I figured, well, then how do you straighten the spine? And then that's going into your basic rows, that's going into lifting heavy and doing things like that, which when I say lifting heavy, it scares people instantly.
Right.
But what I mean, when I say I'm going to lift heavy, I'm picking 400 pounds up off the floor. That's my heavy. For you, whoever you are, and I said that may be lifting 10 pounds off the floor.
Yeah.
Right.
And that depends all on the person. But that's heavier based on who you are, not on who I am.
Yeah.
And so it's very, very different. And, that's one thing that I really love, and where, my OCD and my attention to detail kick in, is then I have to find out all about you.
Right.
And I love that. And so then now not only are you a human to me, but you're a mathematical equation. And I didn't do well in math earlier on, so this is like a second chance for me to be good, And so I'm like, all right, I love this. I can help out a human being live their best life, but I can also figure out absolute numbers, and that's what's really fun to me too. So helping somebody else is actually really, really fun for me, because I get this weird kick out of it, I can do numbers. I started learning Excel and macros because that's just the best.
Nice.
Because it's so easy. I love it.
Well, okay, so tell us where, if a regular middle-aged woman like myself, struggling with a little bit of insulin resistance, wanted to work with you, where would we go to find you? How would we get started? Let us know how that would work.
So you can find me on all major social media platforms. You can find me on Instagram. It's Weston _Faulkenberry. Super easy. You can go to Facebook.
Oh shoot! Hang on one second. We are picking up our Jay's business partner to get his truck, and he's calling, and it all just went garbly. Okay, so you said Weston. Wait, hang on. Do you want to just answer and text him really quick? Tell him you're coming. Hang on one sec, because he keeps calling, and it's right when you're saying your social media. Hold on.
That's a conspiracy against me.
Exactly.
I talked about the 1980s, and now the 1980s are trying to stop me.
Food companies, Monsanto, blah, blah. Yeah, no. Okay, tell us your Instagram.
All right, so you can find me on Instagram at Weston _Faulkenberry. You can go to Facebook, find me at findfixfinish.com. If you want to work with me, and if you go to my Instagram, I have a link tree there. If you click on that, it takes you to my links where you can download two free workouts, a healthy nutrition guide, at-home stuff. I have a whole bunch of free downloads for that. You can also, there's a Q&A where you just fill it out, and it'll send me an email, and I'll respond to you. You can book sessions. It has links to everything else there. But find me on Instagram.
So you can book?
At Weston _ Yeah, you can book me straight from there.
Okay.
And there's a whole menu of stuff that I can do. But but first and foremost, all consultations are free.
Nice.
Awesome.
Consultations are free. I do it because I would rather you have all the information that you need to be successful in life rather than me make money.
Well, don't give it all away.
So,
you do deserve to get paid for your knowledge and your skills and your service.
Here's how it goes. Yeah. But here's the thing: is that I don't do it for you. We have a consultation. I find out what's going on. I give you my recommendations on the next free consultation, and then if you want to work with me, which I would always strongly suggest that you do if you're making that second call. I start tailoring things.
Yeah.
You work with them,
it's
not for them.
The one-on-one that you would be paying for. Yeah.
And then I make sure that you get how you can be successful in building your habits.
Okay.
That's great.
So the free consultation is like, hey, here you go. This told me these are the areas where I think you would be best in. And, it's up to you to change it. It's not me at that point. It's up to you with that free consultation. If you book with me, then you and I work hand in hand, and then how do we get your best result?
Well, you're your best calling card, because when people go over to your Instagram and see how ripped you are, they're going to be motivated, and they absolutely have to go watch the handstand challenge. That has been so fun. It is. It's so fun.
It's been more fun to hang out with my daughter than it is to learn handstand.
Heck yeah, that's the whole point.
And that's the cool thing about it, is that if you look at the videos, originally they started out me learning handstands, and then now it's just like, dude, it's me and my daughter hanging out. We're in the playroom, and I'm flailing around, and then we're just giving hugs and high fives.
Yes, and it's great, and those are going to be major memories for them. Their dad did handstands with them. Their dad learned a handstand, so like I said, way to be a good girl, Dad, and not overcomplicate it. And that is. And your kids are moving, and they see you move, and they are moving. So that's a value that we grew up with, right? Was being in movement, and for those of us that struggle with a little ADD, it is vital for our survival to move our bodies.
Yeah.
It's the only way.
Yeah. Well, this is medicine.
Well, this was awesome. We thoroughly appreciate you coming on our show today.
I feel like
thank you guys for having me so much. I really appreciate it.
And I think we need to make this a little more like another appearance.
We'll have to do another one. Yeah. There's
like
more.
a recap or an update episode of everything. So.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So leave us with one parting thought. If you want, go for it.
So if you're going to do it, go ahead and start thinking about it right now, and then within an hour, do it.
Ooh, I like that.
I like it.
Like, make the decision and jump.
Yeah. Don't hesitate. Go for it.
Yeah. And if you go all in, you're going to fail, but while you're failing, understand what you're doing wrong, and then find a way to come around it.
And that's not failure, right? That's learning.
No.
Yeah.
Failure is when you hit a brick wall and you decide that that's it. But success is when you hit that brick wall and then realize that you can go over the brick wall.
That's great.
It. Okay, so find, fix, finish. That's what you said, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We will
finish health and wellness. Yeah.
You can find everything in the description below, guys.
Yeah,
I'll let you know.
We'll link it. Yay! Well, love you, man. I'm so glad we got to visit.
Yes, love y'all too. Y'all be safe.
Will do. See you, brother.
All right. Bye-bye, y'all.
Oh, that was good.
That was great.